want somebody to know how good you are at radio, you be like, hey, my name's Matt. I'm with Heathen Radio. Blah, 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 blah.
Oh,
and you say it, no stuttering, no nothing. And you just say, yeah, welcome, 103.5. You do the type of thing. And it's literally like a 10-second clip. And if they don't like the 10-second clip, you're not getting the job.
Well, I mean, the vibes are... All right, so welcome to Heathen Radio. My name is Andrew. I'm 34 years old. I'm a member of the Mount Pisgah Seventh-day Adventist Church in Miami Gardens, Florida. I'm here with my co-host, Matt.
Matt. Your boy.
You got a radio voice,
in
too,
the
bro.
morning. Matt. In the morning. Welcome to Heathen Radio.
Who are you?
Episode 4. My name is Matt. I'm 34 years old, and I'm a member of Maranatha the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Miami Gardens. And we're back, guys.
Episode 4, man. This feels like a momentous occasion.
It's a little hiatus, but I think we're back. We're back for the people. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're right. We definitely is back. So let's see. This episode is entitled "No Drums"
Oh,
because
yeah.
because I don't know about you, but I definitely remember a time when there was not a drum set in the sanctuary of a church that I went to.
The majority of churches. I didn't see drum sets till maybe mid 2000s. I want to say, and I tell people of other religions this, and I tell them, and they look at me with the most shocked face, like their jaw hits the floor. They're like, "What do you mean you didn't have drum set?"
Yeah,
and it was kind of forbidden.
It was a real thing.
It was a real thing.
It was, and not only just a real thing, like it was what it was almost as fundamental as the 28 fundamental beliefs.
Yeah,
there was less back then, but like it was fundamental that.
It was almost like an 11th commandment, is what I like to say. It was literally like an 11th commandment. No drums in the church.
11. No drums in the church.
Yeah, it was a lot of other instruments too. If the instrument just got too loud, I've seen people walk out. I tell people these stories, and they have a hard time believing me. They're making that up. No, I've seen people walk out the church from somebody playing the saxophone. So
the saxophone.
I've seen it, bro. In Alabama, by the way. In Alabama.
Well,
people that we know, I've seen them walk out. The conservative people, conservative Adventists that we know.
I think I know who you're talking about.
I've seen them. Yeah, we're not gonna say no names, but I've seen people get up out the church and walk home and protest the church because a guy came up and played the saxophone. It sounded too sexual. It sounded too inviting.
I was just gonna ask you, like, what is that? What about that particular instrument is it? Cause it's specific instruments. Cause I know that you go into any Seventh-day Adventist church, you gonna find a piano,
of course,
and you gonna probably find an organ,
of course, yeah.
And so those are okay.
Yeah,
like the key machines are okay.
Yeah.
But it's something about the rhythm of the drums and the saxophone that used to not be okay, because it's definitely changed now.
It's definitely changed, but there's a culture, man. And my church, my local church in Miami, and it was honorable. Like, we value music a lot. And what they would do is they would teach the kids in the church. And I haven't seen this in years. I'm talking 20 years. They would teach the kids in the church how to play piano. Like the older guy that would play piano every Sabbath, he would teach kids at his house like during the week. And so we never had to pay musicians outside of the church. We kind of just kept that revolving door of kids playing the piano. Mm-hmm. My brother was actually one of those people. Mike was actually one of the guys that played piano at my church. When he got to a certain age,
Mike
he would play for the
piano. It doesn't surprise me that he's musically inclined.
I mean, my dad played piano for the church. Is where it all started. My dad played piano, and then he taught Mike, and then Mike played piano, and they played by ear. And Mike played piano all the way, but he still can do it to this day. Mm-hmm. But it's just like music was a big deal in the church. It almost was bigger than the sermon at some points. You feel like it would collide with the message and the word at some points. Right?
Well, there's definitely that's definitely an element of the divine worship service is music, and there's people that I know. Part of me wants to say that these people are older than I am, but I know people who are my same age that like really catch the spirit from the music in the church.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah, I mean, they talk about music all the time. They say the devil, that's the devil. That's how he did it. The devil used music. That was his specialty.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, that was his specialty. He could sing all octaves at the same time.
Satan was the music minister in heaven. I've heard
tenor,
that.
soprano. Yeah, he's the music minister in the clouds and all this. Like, so they're always saying that music can go very bad, very quick. It's almost arguably, in my opinion, is one of the most, if not the most polarizing topic in the church. Like, if we're not talking about outside the walls, inside the church, music is one of the most polarizing things because it affects everybody in different ways. It affects everybody in multiple different ways. Like, drums has a long history at my church. We didn't have drum sets, and then they finally allowed us to use the drum set at a youth day. We used to have
Yeah.
Yep.
They used to bring in the drum set and
literally ship it in on somebody's car, like put it in somebody's pickup truck and drive it to the church because it wasn't allowed to sit in the church.
Yeah, no, you can't keep it in there.
You could keep it in
once the benediction is done, that drum set got to be gone.
No dust gonna collect on them drums. They going back in the car and back to that person's crib until next youth day.
Yeah.
We had youth day one Sabbath out the month, and somebody would ship the drums in. They'd set it up the night before, rehearse on it, and play drums one Sabbath out the month. That was our middle ground.
That was usually on the 13th Sabbath, by the way.
I think it was for us. Mm-hmm. It was such a long time ago.
They happen once every quarter.
Yeah, but we had a youth day.
The 13th Sabbath is definitely a thing, and it's
I think it was 13th
oriented
Sabbath
thing.
I think you're right. But they ship these drums in once a month just for youth day, and when the youth day was done, they packed them up, shipped them out.
Yep,
packed them up, shipped them out. It's actually one of the reasons why. So my mom bought me a drum set when I was about 10 years old. Mm-hmm. I actually started playing drums when I was like 10, 11-ish. It started with drum set, and then it kind of came into drum corps.
And we're going to touch on that drum corps thing
in just a little bit. This whole episode's about drums, so I think this is probably a good time to introduce.
It's not about drums. It's about music. This episode's about music, but drums seem to be the crux of the issue.
It was such a polarizing topic back then.
Yeah. It was. And which is wild to me because drum corps has always been a part of Pathfinders.
Always. And it's always been a presence in the church. So I've always tried to figure out, even as a 12-year-old kid, what's the difference?
Right.
What's the difference?
They're the same instrument.
There's 20 of us playing drums in the balcony, and you're telling me one guy can't sit and play 5 drums?
Yeah.
And the cymbals, sitting in front next to the piano? That's forbidden, but there's 20 of us strapped on with drums, and we're getting away with that. It's just and even then, when we played those,
it didn't make sense.
Yeah, we had
didn't
rules.
even make sense.
And we had rules, we weren't allowed to click sticks, and we'd count off. We do a 1, 2, 3, 4 before we weren't allowed to scream and stuff. Bro. We do a 1, 2, and before we play.
Yeah. You had a little flavor to the drum corps.
We weren't allowed to do that. We weren't allowed. We made all these rules in the church because.
So you can hit the drums, but you couldn't hit the sticks together.
It was the weirdest. Now when I talk about as a kid trying to understand this, it was the strangest. It was the trickiest line to dance on.
I don't think it was ever like that for my church. But then again, our church. Let's see here. I'm thinking back to my home church, and
and that's in Niles, right?
Yeah, Niles, Philadelphia is the one I'm thinking about because that's the one that I necessarily that I grew up at, but. It was a small enough church that I think that there wasn't. It was a small enough church that the congregation was more focused on supporting the young people than it was on upholding the law or whatever that means.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
See that's what I wish. My church was the opposite. I don't want to put.
They wanted the laws.
It almost felt like Vietnam or so. It was kids versus adults. It was just
it was POWs.
It was always kids versus adults. Yeah, a lot of the sermons were just and this is not like that now, but back then it was just obey your mother and father. That verse was literally
the bane of your existence for a
long
time. They like to use that.
I was almost 18 years old.
They like to use that as a bludgeon for real too.
Yeah, thou must obey thy mother and father. All them things. It was the pastor go up there and be like, these kids need to do this, and the parents would get up and clap, and they get up and you hear that? You hear that?
Amen.
And they looking at you while the pastor's saying these kids nowadays don't even get the.
They got no respect. These kids today's got no respect.
And the parents would just look at you and be like, you heard him.
He talking to you.
And it's man, we weren't even allowed to sit in the balcony. We had a balcony in my church, and we kids knew that it was kind of out the center of the tension, so kids go in the balcony, kind of fool off,
Yeah.
And it got to a point where they had one of the deaconesses stand at the stairs.
Yo, a bouncer.
They had a bouncer for the balcony, dog. They had a bouncer for the balcony, bro. I was like, yo,
you're not old enough. You can't sit in this section.
I've never gotten to actually put all these experiences together and talk about it now. So this is actually really therapeutic for me because it was so many things that if I tell people now, they're like, no way. And I'm like, no.
This really happened.
It's really happened, man. It's really happened. But drums was definitely, it was, I can keep going, but I'm going to let you talk about it.
It was the example. The drums were definitely like I said, they were kind of the capstone of the opposition, I guess.
Yeah. It's like the tool that could be used to break a build, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, so that was back then. today, I don't think I can walk into a Seventh-day Adventist sanctuary without seeing a drum set somewhere.
Yeah, once you get past a certain congregation size, you're gonna have a drum set. You're gonna have a drum set.
Because
the smaller ones might get away without not having it. You know, might just have the piano and do the hymns. But once you get past a certain congregation size, the drums are mandatory. The drums are literally anybody that has a decent sized congregation has a drum set.
I think I can agree with you. Well, but like so as I said before, I don't generally catch the spirit from praise and worship.
Okay.
I when I'm at, YouTube SDA, I skip past all that extra stuff.
Really? Wow.
Oh yeah. It's like, a matter of fact, my strategy is wait until about 12:30, 1 p.m. maybe. By that time, the whole service is on YouTube, and I can scrub right to where the pastor comes up, and that's where I start.
Yeah.
But my mother, like, she be going to the she be in the sanctuary.
Oh, your moms be in there. Yeah. And it's like my moms, by the way. Like,
they be in the
if they miss praise and worship, they're like, why are we like, for real? They're like, yo, what are we going for? Like, for real? Like,
yeah.
Like, they're like, yo, just like, we missed the best part. Like,
it's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big deal for them.
Now, my mom, still to this day, my mom be like, you're not ready yet? Come on, we're going to miss the praise and worship. To this day, in 2023, I just got that speech like 3 weeks ago.
Why even go if you go miss the praise?
Like, what it was, like, music was a big deal in my life, man. So, like, the drum thing was always felt like I was tiptoeing on a really, like
you was on
walking
on a tightrope. Walking on a tightrope.
Yeah, I was on a tightrope my entire childhood. Not too far on
one side, not too far on the other
because
side.
I loved it, but you had to be careful why you loved it. You know what I mean? Like, I remember my brother, and this is the funny part. Cause my brother was and I ain't gonna sit on Mike, but at one point he started dabbling into the secular world. Just for kids at public school or whatever.
I mean, so do we all.
And we were just attracted to beats. That's
why this is heathen radio, bro.
We were attracted to beats and rhythms and just we didn't really care what the lyrics said. We really didn't. Yeah. We didn't care if they was talking about money, girls. We didn't care. Like, we're kids and we were attracted to rhythms and beats and so my brother, I never forget, man. He used to have a CD Walkman on him during Sabbath at Sabbath lunch after church. This boy was brave. Guess what he was playing in the CD player? Dr. Dre.
Dr. Dre in the church, bro.
2001.
Oh, the Chronic.
Well, is it the Chronic?
Let's see. Hold on.
I think it's called 2000. The Chronic was the first one. 2001 was his, like, I think his second or third. I can't remember. But the album is called 2001, right? Yeah, that's it right there. So 2001 had an instrumental version.
Murder Inc.
It had a whole instrumental version.
Big Ego.
Yeah, but you could look up 2001. It had and back in the day, remember, you had to have CDs, so you couldn't just type on in YouTube and find instrumentals. So this CD had an instrumental version.
Oh, he had
the instrumental version of this album, Dr.
Forgot
Dre.
about Dre. The next
episode, still DRE, man. The next episode, but come on, like these are some of the best beats in hip hop at that time. Bro.
Yeah.
These are some of the best beats in hip hop at that time, bro.
And he listened to it instrumental.
I remember we went to my grandmother's house one time, and I'm like, Mike, what are you listening to? He was just in it, he was just in it, headphones on, and we were like, yo, what are you listening to? And he's like, it's just instrumentals. And then they take it off and they listen to it, and they're like, this is hip hop, but it's like,
yeah, right.
Ain't no lyrics, though. Right. What you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? What you gonna do? Like, he found that little, like, opening where it's like, I knew it was wrong, but it was like,
well, wait a
minute. What they gonna say about it?
What makes it wrong?
Well, yeah,
because
they're not talking about nothing.
Because that brings forth a good question: can rhythms be good or evil?
Yeah.
And I think that's really kind of the foundational question of why drums were excluded from the church for such a long time is because the administration of the congregation believed that rhythms could be evil.
And I think rhythms are cultural. Believe it or not, I do think rhythms are very cultural. I think there's cultures that use more drums, and there's cultures that use more guitar, and there's cultures that use more piano, whatever, sitar, whatever you want to use.
Right, but those instruments are just the channel for the rhythm. They're not the rhythm itself.
But I think in certain cultures, some drums are used at certain events, and they have certain connotations. Like, it's funny because if you go to Jamaica and you go to a Jamaican church traditionally in Jamaica, they have like dance hall, not to say it like that, but you might get a guy in the church that came off the street, and he's a musician.
He bringing the rhythms that he found from the streets into the church.
From the street, and it works. It works on the whatever the hymn you're singing or the little like underground church hymn that they have there, and it sounds like a secular song until you hear Jesus 3-4 times, and you're like, oh shoot, this is
not a secular song.
Not a secular song. Yeah,
you put Jesus in it now. It's not a secular song.
It's not a secular song, and I look. I'm gonna be controversial for bringing this up.
Please do.
But I have to talk about it.
Go for it.
Because it really did bring me back to my childhood.
Let it fly.
When Kanye West came out with Sunday Service.
Okay?
Because literally
that confused a lot of people.
Literally,
bro. That confused a lot of people.
So you got to understand how relevant Sunday Service was to my upbringing, because that's what we used to do as kids. Is we used to take the secular songs that we like and put Jesus in it a couple times. And make the lyrics Jesus oriented. Because the rhythms, the melodies, the drums, the everything.
They have the words.
I love
they
the
have no
feeling.
morality. The rhythm has no morality. That's what I think.
The feeling from the music, we wanted that. But we didn't want to get in trouble for trying to replicate that feeling. So we would literally put Jesus and God and all these words on it to make it
buzzwords.
like, the Redeemers and whatever, like put it on the song so that we wouldn't get in trouble for it. Every strict Christian kid under the sound of my voice has done this.
Yes.
I don't care what you say. At
Yes.
some point you have subbed a secular song with Jesus and Christ and whatever.
Change the words around.
Change the words around in order so you don't get in trouble. So you don't get in trouble. It's probably the trickiest, slipperiest slope I ever had to do as a kid without getting in trouble, was trying to figure out what I could do with music. Because music touched me. Yeah.
What you said, a slippery slope. What is that like? What's the slope towards? What is the top of the slope and what's the bottom of that slope? Does that make sense? My question I just said?
Yeah, I mean, well, the bottom of the slope is hearing, uncensored rap music talking about things that we don't, idolize in the church.
That's the evil side.
That's the evil side. The evil side is listening to Dr. Dre 2001 uncensored, non-instrumental. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, there's some tracks on that album.
Yeah.
There's some tracks on that album that I did not say.
Yeah, cussing and skits and just like, I mean, like, I and music is very important to me, so I can remember every single moment in my life where music changed my mind. I tell everybody this story, and when God rest in peace, DMX. When I first heard DMX uncensored, I was about 10 years old, and I looked. It was some older guys from the church playing it. We were all in the car going and watching movies. I'll never forget. We want to watch Blade 2. Blade 2, awesome movie. Anyways, in the car, guy stops to get gas.
Is that the one with Ryan Reynolds and the crossbow, or is that Blade 3?
That's 3.
Okay, all right. Sorry, that's the one. That's the one I like. Locato, that's the one I like.
3 was crazy. People sleep on 3. I thought 3 was great, but I thought 3 was amazing. But yeah, we were going to see Blade 2. We stopped at a gas station. I had a guy. He was playing DMX uncensored. I had never heard DMX uncensored. This is like 2001, 2, something like that. I don't remember. You can check when Blade 2 came out. It was that year.
I got you.
And I remember hearing DMX uncensored for the first time as a child. And I remember looking over my shoulder to make sure nobody was going to get me in trouble.
I remember looking to make sure somebody won't come behind you
and snatch you by my ear and pull me out of the car or something. Like, I thought for sure
that's funny, bro, that
something was going to happen if I listened to DMX uncensored. Yeah,
that's wild, bro.
I thought for sure something was going to happen. If 2002. Okay, so I was 13 at the time. So I went all the way to 13 not hearing DMX uncensored.
Well, like it's not just you.
Yeah.
Like right. Music touches humans in a way that I think we can't explain.
No.
And so because it's just a feeling, I think that the administration of churches specifically try to, like, I don't want to say limit, but they try to condense those feelings. It's like, okay, if it's just the piano and the organ, you don't ever get the feelings that you get from the drums.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And as time has gone on, I think that I'd like to say that they're waking up, but I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think that it's kind of more like it's pressure from the congregation, that has changed the perspective of drums in the church. You know what I mean? Because salud.
Thank you.
It does something to you, like the frequency and the rhythms of the drums. They go deeper than just. Than just your body. You feel it in your spirit.
It's the quickest way to an emotion. I always tell people the quickest way to an emotion is through music. I don't care what anybody says. Like, you put on a song, people are gonna feel something.
Yep.
I'm actually worried when people don't feel something.
Right. Right.
Like that's a red flag to me when I meet somebody and they say, "Oh, you like this song?" And whatever, and I'm like about to cry listening to this piece. You know, it's like, bro, like, how you not feel that? You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, so I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
but I will also say that I don't generally get the same feeling of elation that like my mother does from a gospel song.
Okay, I see.
You know what I mean?
From that genre specifically.
Yeah. Now I'm telling you right now, you put on a deep house track, I'm resonating.
Bro, cause we sat in the same car on the same vibrations and been like, yo, this thing right here, this thing right here. Yeah. So
and I don't. Well, part of the reason why I don't necessarily enjoy gospel music is because it's vain repetition, or it seems like vain repetition to me, which is like, you know, you can only pick from a small subsect of words for this gospel song, so we gotta keep going over the same, you know, couple words in this song, which is, I mean, you working with what you got, I get it, but at the same time, I don't catch the spirit from that.
Understandable. As I said, it's not for everybody. That's not what's gonna draw everybody, and I understand that. I just, like, as a kid, that's all. It almost feels like all I had at some points
was the music.
Was the music? That's it. I say it to this day, and I mean this is controversial again, but I wouldn't have been in church as long.
Let it fly.
I wouldn't have been in church as long as I was if it wasn't for music. Music is literally the one thing that kept me in it. I'm not even being dramatic right now. It's the one thing that kept me in longer than anything else could. Longer than the sermons could, longer than the members could. I mean, music was my literal escape when I got to church.
An escape from what? Does that make sense, my question?
I think, and that's a good question, because I you know,
because you got music outside the church, especially. I mean, you're. I mean, all the other 6 days, it's. I mean, you listen to music. I know you listen to music.
But I think performing to me, and I remember I started playing drums when I was 12 with the drum corps and the Pathfinders. So I think playing and creating the music became an outlet.
The rhythm.
It became an outlet. It became an outlet. It became an activity and a hobby and a lifestyle, and it became an outlet for just. It kept me coming back.
It's a part of you for sure.
Yeah, no, it kept me coming back, and I think most of my appreciation of music is because I played the music. Like, you know, like, I mean, who knows? Maybe music wouldn't have been as important to me if I never picked up a pair of sticks or tried to play the trumpet or got early piano lessons and fell off, you know, whatever. Like, my family's very musical though, so music literally is the one reason that kept me in that church. I can say that without a shadow of a doubt.
It was like the praise and worship music. Is that what you're talking about?
I mean, yeah, but not necessarily. Really. Nah, I mean, and it was, as I said, it was more about me creating the music than it was about consuming. Because I think with everything we have in life, it's creating and consuming.
So you're talking specifically about like drum corps?
Specifically drum corps, yeah.
Because that's, I can understand that. That I can understand. Because like
it's a lifestyle. It's an activity.
I mean, for a while there was when I think of drum corps, I specifically think about Lake Region Conference, the cafeteria, drum corps camp.
Camp Wagner, you talking?
Yeah, bro, Camp Wagner, man.
Boy, I can't believe
they had these in the cafeteria. They put up these plastic tables, and that was where we learned all the paradiddles and rhythms and all that kind of stuff. I remember that, bro.
I've seen drum corps save more kids drums.
Oh yeah.
Then I've seen it keep more kids
than
in
any sermon. Any
sermon, any pray, any youth activity.
Yeah,
drums is the thing. I'm telling y'all. Yes. Me and my brother figured that out at an early age. Like, this is gonna be kids' reasons to come back to this building. They're gonna beg their parents to bring them back to this building because of this thing. And I'm seeing it to this day now in 2023.
Oh yeah, it still
y'all
happens.
are talking about these kids with tablets and phones, and none of that stuff really matters. You know. None of that stuff really, like, they do it because they don't have anything else to do.
Right.
But if you put something else in, you put a pair of sticks in their hand and start teaching them rooting, bro, like, they will put that phone in their pocket. Like, I'm telling you, like, people blame the phone. There's nothing to do with the phone and the tablets. Nothing.
No, well, it's the way that I look at phones is like they're a window. That's all that they are. It's a very small window to the internet.
Yeah.
Is essentially what a phone is.
Right.
You know? And so if you got nothing else to do, or you know, or something around you is not engaging your what attention, you're gonna look through the window to the internet.
I mean, arguably we had Game Boys back then. We had things, PSPs and all them. You know what I mean? We had things. I wouldn't full tablets.
They not nothing like these iPhones though.
Yeah, no, of course not. I mean, we know that, but I mean, you could pull up Game Boy games on your iPhone right now,
right,
and play that seamlessly. Right. But yeah, I'm, it's not to say we didn't. We had distractions back then too. We had things that were frowned upon back then, you know, and so I don't know. I think music is the, and as I said, I'm gonna keep talking about music because I think it's the most powerful. In my opinion, it's the most powerful tool we have as a church. Believe it or not, and I've seen, it's the most powerful tool that we have in the church's music.
Yeah, it's definitely the most versatile tool that the church has. For sure.
It can attract every age, every you know. You don't have to know English. You don't have to know nothing. You don't have to know. You don't have to understand the pastor. Like, you don't have to know anything about nothing. Mm-hmm. Music touches people on a spiritual level.
Oh,
it touches people on a vibrational level.
Well, I mean, that's why I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to a music concert, especially a dance music concert, but that's ascendant. Yeah. Like it takes you somewhere else outside of your flesh.
And it can't be explained.
Right.
As I said, it can't be explained. Like I think we're such an advanced culture sometimes that we forget what the older ways of doing it were. Oh. You know, we're so used to using words and trying to describe things and pinpoint feelings and sensations and emotions, and it's like, no, like that's what you're feeling. Like sometimes you can't explain it. Sometimes you don't want to do this. Sometimes you want to do it. Sometimes you're mad at this. You don't know why you're mad at it. Sometimes you're happy. You don't know why you're happy. It just, music is able to take you there without words.
Yeah.
And I think people underestimate that. And that's what drums is. It's music without words. Mm-hmm. And it's such a powerful tool because, as I said, it can touch everybody. Half of the churches and this is the powerful part. This is how I learned at an early age that music is the most powerful tool the church has.
Okay, I'm with
because we were one of the best drum corps in the area. In South
okay.
Area. No, we were early. You know, we had a big congregation. We got ahead of the game and we got drums before most of the other churches. Mm-hmm, so we were the only drum corps in South Florida area that was like fairly decent and had a decent amount of kids.
Competition worthy.
Right, competition. And this is before any competition. So they used to call us, like if they had a Pathfinder Day.
Yep.
They call us, but not just English churches, by the way. No, you think I'm playing. Remember, we're in South Florida. We're in Miami. I would say even 50%, if not more, of the churches here speak Spanish, no English, whatsoever. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about not a lick of English is spoken throughout the whole program.
Yeah.
And we're going to these churches speaking as English speaking kids just to play drums.
Just to play the drums.
Just to share the music.
Yeah.
That's what I realized. And I was like probably 12, 13. I'm like, oh yeah, this is bigger than me. Like, cause I can't talk to any of these kids. And these kids want like my autograph. I'm 13 years old, and they're walking up to me with a piece of paper and a pen, and I'm like, bro, like I just played some drums, like some little beats that I learned last year, like, and they're looking at me like, yo, I want to do that, you know, because it's a release, man. It's therapy. Well, people don't realize that.
Well, I can. So I agree with what you're saying that it definitely is a It can be an outreach strategy because I can remember specifically in now it's Philadelphia when we finally assembled our drum corps, we would play in parades and like these are secular parades.
Yeah, right.
Like these are people
4th of July parades and stuff like that. Yeah.
These people are not in churches.
Yeah, not right.
But
exactly.
but they are sitting outside of their houses on the curb listening to us, and not just listening to us, appreciating us.
Right.
You know, like people would like people would catch the spirit from a drum corps in a parade. Are you kidding me? And they would hear it coming from miles away. Yeah. They would hear us as we walked away.
Yeah.
And like as soon as we came by and they saw and heard what was actually making the sounds, that's when they really got into it.
Man.
You know what I mean? And it was
not a word was spoken. Bro. Not a word has to be uttered.
Bro.
As I said, and that's something spiritual.
Yeah.
And I think that's like music is a spiritual thing, man. And I'm gonna keep bringing this up because I've seen people like I don't want to put any names out there, but there's a lot of major artists right now at the top of the food chain, winning Grammys, et cetera, that were raised in Venice. Mm-hmm. And I mean, not all of them, but some of them don't even fully realize that culture of Adventism is what got them to the top of that music food chain. Because music is a spiritual thing, and just okay, like think of it this way. And I think we like as a church, when you go in and you see live music every Saturday, we don't think it's much, you know.
No.
But just imagine if you went to a concert every weekend. You know, that's kind of almost what we're experiencing in a lot of these churches.
That's
as,
true.
As kids growing up, we're being exposed to so much music creation, so much music, high quality live music. You know, we're being encouraged to create it. We're being encouraged to perform it. We're being like it's literally a boot camp for music performance, if you really want to think of it that way. So a lot of people come out to church. I mean, you could look at almost any
talented.
major. Yeah.
They come out the church.
Not even
talented.
the Adventist church.
True.
Yeah, you could look at any church. I mean, you look at your Whitney Houstons, your whoever, like your anybody,
Beyonce.
Aretha Franklin's, your Beyonce's in Dallas. You know, like you could look at any major black artist that has some form of decent talent. A lot of them came from the church.
They got it from the church. That's true.
It's the biggest export of the church. To be honest with you, the biggest export is
musical talent.
The biggest export is musical talent, bro.
Let's see. Do I agree with that? It's hard to disagree
with
that.
The biggest export is musical talent, bro.
It's hard to disagree with that because it's potent.
It's biggest
potent
export
for real.
It's the biggest export.
So, So what is it? So I got two questions.
Yeah.
Number one, is it just the Adventist church? And if not, what is it about the church that creates that talent, that refines that talent? Does that make sense? My question.
It's a frequency, as I was saying earlier. Like, imagine if you went to church. Like, imagine if you went to a concert every weekend. Imagine if you had to go on stage and sing at a concert every weekend. Like, imagine you're in the choir. Like, you're at church in the choir. You literally go up and sing every weekend, and you have rehearsals during the week. Like, how are you not going to be good? Like, you're literally doing this like it's your full-time job.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So that seems to imply that it's not just the Adventist church.
No, church in general. Like, we have to acknowledge that church is a spiritual experience.
Yes.
And music is a part of that spiritual experience, and it's practiced often in the churches. So I mean, and practice makes, not perfect, but practice makes progress, and so you're naturally going to be a good musician coming out of a church. That's just the name of the game. It doesn't matter if you're playing the keyboard, drums, singing, etc.
You're going to refine a talent that you got.
Because you're getting practice. You're practicing every weekend. Like, if nothing else, you're going to get better because of practice. You're rehearsing on whatever, Friday night, whatever. You're coming and singing it live on Saturday, whatever. You got a concert that you got to sing in.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you do. That's what you do when you're when you're performing something. Right. You rehearse it, you perform it, you rehearse it.
Your schedule looks the same as a professional musician already.
That's a good point.
At 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, as
already
a kid,
getting that.
As a kid, you're rehearsing like a professional musician. So by the time you're in your 20s, you're a refined talent. This is secondhand nature at this point. This is muscle memory. And by the time you're in your 20s, and a lot of people take it and they decide, I'm gonna keep it in the church, and some people decide they're gonna take it and whatever,
make actual money from it.
Which
is okay. I mean, like, that's like what do you have a talent for if not to profit from it?
Yeah, I mean.
No,
and the church. We'll get on this on the next episode for sure.
We'll be talking about this. Yes,
we will definitely be. This is a good segue because the church preaches humility with your talents. It preaches, use it for the church, nobody else. Like there's a lot of and not necessarily nobody else, but it's like if it's not bringing people to God, then why
give it to somebody?
Yeah, like like if it's
you need to be generous with your talents. I agree.
Yeah, generous with your talents, but it's like if it's not bringing somebody into the building, sometimes I feel like it's
what's
not.
The point?
Yeah, I mean that's what the church is saying.
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. But so here's my other question. So
what's up?
What we let's see here. Let's talk about a standard congregation. Okay. Let's see. We've got piano, organ, drum set now.
Yeah. Bass guitar.
Okay, bass guitar.
Yeah, the bass. Maybe an acoustic guitar. Maybe. Like you're doing a thing if you got an electric or acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
That, and then
do you think there's anything else that's going to be added to that band? Because that's really what it is. It's a band.
It's a band. It's a live music, man. Like I said, we're so used to seeing it in the church that we forget like this happens outside of the church.
I mean, that's what. So
they're live bands. Yeah.
Right. That's exactly what you got a rhythm guitar, a bass guitar, a drum set, lead singer. You might have a couple background vocals. That's a live band.
It's a live band. I mean, it's
so
any application.
So what does that mean? That we now have that we went from piano, maybe an organ, to now having a live band in most sanctuaries.
Yeah.
What do you think that means?
No, I think it means that we're putting more effort into the music ministry. You know, like, I mean, you know, back in our day, like, it used to just be hymns and a pianist. That was it.
Yeah, it's changed in our in our lifetime.
I would argue it's evolved. I would say it's gotten better.
It's definitely better now than it was. Yes.
Yeah, and just because of the effort, you can see like there's multiple parts moving in these bands now. Like,
well, that's kind of like the pieces working together is kind of the magic of music.
Yeah.
It's like that's part of what speaks to us, I think, is that it's these individual parts coming together and working together in harmony.
Yeah, it's beautiful. My dad sang in a quartet. As I said, I'm a very musical family. My dad sang bass in a quartet. He sang bass. You know, there was tenors. It was like four of them. Five
quartet music was big.
Yeah, it was big back in the day. Remember King's Herald and all that? King's Herald, you could have told them nothing, man. They could have sold out arenas back then.
Vocals only, bro. Vocals
only. You see what I'm saying? Yo. So it's like, but there's different vocals. There's different ranges of vocals. So. Bro, it's just a beautiful thing to see the gears come together with music. It's like I started at an early age, man. My dad, he would take me to rehearsals. Yeah. He would rehearse for this quartet, and we go to his friend's house, and there'd be 5 guys in the living room. Oh, do it again. And do it again. Do it again.
But when they nail it, bro,
when they nail it,
it's
chills,
like,
man.
Oh, bro.
And I don't know if y'all have ever heard it, but like you gotta go look up. You could go look up YouTube, just like acapella, like hymns or something like that. Yeah, maybe King's Herald. But
that's all they had back then. Yeah. Because you couldn't bring any saxophones or drum sets or guitars into the church. You had to get it only from the vocals, and it can happen, but it's so much harder. Yeah. It's so much more difficult to get the same kind of feeling, the same kind of chills from just vocals than it is from vocals plus instrumentals.
I mean, it's true. I mean, but it's all vibrations. You know, like just how you got a bass guitar. You got the bass vocalist, you know. You got the treble. You got the guy that sings the soprano.
Yeah. You
got the violin. You know, they're all vibrations in a sense. But yo, like if you haven't heard acapella, man, to this day when I hear acapella, chills every time.
Every time. It's the like acapella music now is like the bespoke music. You know, it's like once everybody figured out that you can add music to your vocals, everybody's doing it now. So when you have a group that's just vocals, they make a splash.
Yeah, no,
you know?
Of course.
But I'm not. You have to be real good.
Oh yeah,
you have to be a really good acapella group to be able to do it with just acapellas, and that's rare. Hey, look, that's rare.
Take 6, where they from? Take 6, where they from? Let's talk about it. Take 6 and Committed. Talk about Committed too.
Yeah, Committed too. That was another one, man. I mean, they. You're right.
You know where they come from. You know what I'm saying? Like it's bro. There's generations, multiple like we're talking 4, 5, 6, 7. Who knows? Probably Ellen G. White all the way till now. Like decades and decades of generations of people perfecting this craft that we call music in the Adventist church specifically. Music is a very important part of the Adventist church, and I've always felt like it was a slippery slope for us to dance. And I mean, and in some points, I feel like we've lost a lot of our individuality as far as the Adventist church of music. To be honest, if I'm going to be honest with you,
what does that mean?
I mean, I don't know if you can tell the difference between an Adventist praise and worship and a secular Sunday praise and worship anymore. In a big congregation.
But I don't think that's because we. I don't think that's because we try to be them. It's because they try to be us.
I don't know. I'm not sure which side blended with which side. If I had to guess, I would say our side blended to their side because they were doing things like that from way back.
Right, but it wasn't. Yeah. But it didn't bring you to the Most High.
I mean, it does for some people.
Because it's different.
It does for some people.
It's different in the church. Like the music in the church is different from the secular music because secular music is focused on bringing attention to the self. Music in the church, religious music, is focused on bringing that attention to the Most High.
Right.
And I think it's partially intention, but it's also partially the purity, the quality, the authenticity. You know, it's like there's you you lose some of that authenticity when you're singing for yourself.
Right.
And honestly, we giving hot takes here. Part of my hot take is that I think that the reason why I don't necessarily catch the spirit from most of the praise and worship stuff in the churches is because they're not singing for God. They singing for them. You know, and it's not everybody. I'll say that for sure.
Not everybody,
but I do think that it's most people.
There's some instances. There's definitely some instances where, you know, yeah, they're not singing for the congregation. Yeah, they're singing for themselves. It happens. Mm-hmm. It happens, you know, and you know, like, and this is the argument as to the point where, like, well, should they do it at all? Like, should they be doing it? Like, you know, look, it's as I said, these are all slippery slopes, man.
Let's see here. What's the question? If you're gonna be singing on the praise team for you, should you be on the praise team? Is that the question? I think that's a question.
I think that is the question, but it's like,
what's my answer?
I kind of want, and I always play devil's advocate with this topic because we face this a lot, and this is. I have examples. I have examples.
I mean, you went to Oakwood, bro. You know that there was a lot of praise and worships up there that was praising and worshiping themselves.
Yeah. I mean, we know it. We could call them out right now.
You can feel it when it's inauthentic.
And you know, and look, I've seen choirs in my home church as a kid, like, and people on the church board. We gonna have a whole topic about the church board. I've had people on the church board complain that kids only come in the church to sing in the choir. They ain't coming for the message. They're not coming for nothing else. They just coming because they get a chance to sing in the choir. And I'm gonna be honest, my mother was a choir director at the time, and she said, "Okay, so what?
So what? So what?
They're here. Like, okay, so what?
So
like,
what?
Like, I'm glad my mother took that stand because it's like, okay, so what? Like, they're here. Right. They're on the.
So what? They're only coming for Pathfinders, a drum corps, or basketball. Yeah, that's like, another one.
Yeah, bro, the basketball thing is crazy, especially in the Midwest. Y'all had that thing.
So what if they only come into? Okay, so what if you can only play if you come to AY? So that's the only reason they come in. So what?
So what? That's what I'm saying.
Like. And you're right. People would definitely get mad over stuff like that.
And it's I'm like, what? Like, what? What? Like, no, that is one of the wildest arguments, if not the craziest argument I've ever seen in a church, is that if you're coming for the wrong reason, you're not supposed to be in here. Is there a wrong reason to go to church? No, like, really, is there a wrong reason to walk into that building? There's no wrong reason.
No,
there's no wrong reason.
I mean, you come from you. What do they say? Eat the meat, spit out the bones.
And people come in that church with bad intent all the time. People walk into this building that want to cause harm to the people in there. Like,
well, you want to hear what's crazy? So I think the one of the times that I saw Now It's Philadelphia the most packed is when there was my sister and a friend of hers would do shout out to Claudia Allen, by the way. They would do sign language, and they did it for a long time around all these churches, right? And the last time that they was both going off to college or whatever, and they was like, this gonna be the last thing. Yo, Now It's Philadelphia was jam packed, bro. Jam packed.
Yeah, we had
every pew was filled. We had to put chairs. We had to put folding chairs on the sides of the pews, around the back of the pews. People were standing in the foyer. Like it's like so. And I can honestly say, some of those people that were in there, that was the only time they came to that church.
It. They came for that.
That was the only time they came.
People so yeah.
Like so what if a heathen only comes to the church for the concerts? So what?
So what,
like who?
There's no wrong reason to be in the building. Is what I'm trying to tell y'all. There's no wrong reason to be in a church.
Right.
There's no wrong reason to be in there.
We're not supposed to clean them anyway.
Like, man, I could argue about this all day, and it's something that I never understood and I'll never get. There's no wrong reason to be in the church. You could be going there to look for women. Okay. There's no wrong reason to be in the church. No, I'm serious. You could be going in there looking for a job. There's no wrong. You could be going in there to sing in the choir. You could be going in there
for vacation Bible study.
You got a crush on the pastor. We don't know. There's no wrong reason.
That happens too.
There's no wrong reason to be in the church. There's no wrong reason, man. Whatever brings you, brings you. And it's funny because people that come as you are thing is just wild. Like, But it's true. Come as you are, man.
Right.
It doesn't matter why you're coming.
What you're dressed in, what you want to do.
And I think that come as you are is
there.
like whatever your mindset is too. Whatever your mind, come as you are. That's your mindset. Like, that's fine. I'm not saying we're going to change it, but like, you're going to see something else that's going to inspire you to realize like, okay, this mindset's not, this is not it. You know what I'm saying? And that's what the church is.
It's going to change you in some way.
Yeah. The church is a lifestyle. It's a group of people that agree on certain morals, and those morals are contagious. And so the bad people are not supposed to last in the church. Yeah. They're supposed to come in with a nasty mindset, and they're supposed to leave. They're supposed to leave transformed. Is really what's supposed to happen.
Well, I mean, if you're in the church if you're coming in the church to spread a malicious mindset, you're not going to last long.
It shouldn't spread. Yeah, it shouldn't make it. It shouldn't. As I said, and that speaks to the integrity and the morals and the backing of a church. Is that whatever when somebody comes in broken like that, they come in mashed up, they come in wanting to cause harm. It shouldn't work. It shouldn't work. It shouldn't work.
It shouldn't spread.
It shouldn't spread. When it spreads, that's when you realize there's something's
wrong with the church.
Yeah, something's wrong with the church.
Something's wrong with the church when that spreads.
On a deeper level, something's wrong with the church. Yeah. Mm-hmm. When people start deciding they want to be, power hungry, But yeah, okay. But now I think we're drifting a little bit.
So so let me bring us back. So what the state of music in the church? What would you say the state is presently?
I think it depends on the size of your congregation.
Okay.
If you ask me, I've been to smaller churches that only have a piano, no drums still, and I've been to bigger churches that have trumpets and Congo drums,
a whole orchestra,
and a whole percussion section and all that. Yeah, I've seen both sides of the coin, and I think it depends on the size of your church, the resources, what importance. I went to a church. Oh man, shout out to Pastor Smith, man. I went to a church in Palm Beach, man. It's a recent pastor I met, by the way, and it wasn't an Adventist church, by the way, but it was I really don't want to mess this up, but it was a 7-day Hebrew, so I can't remember the name of the religion, but it was they worship on Sabbath though, but it wasn't 7-day Adventist. And this guy, bless his heart, he was a pastor, and he was the keyboardist, and he was like the AV guy. This guy was running the church by himself. Oh. It's like when two people call out of work and you gotta like run around and do their job.
That's somebody.
I was impressed with this guy, man.
Committed for sure.
Shout out Pastor Smith, man. I was like, boy, and I saw that and I was just like, if you want to do it, you could do it, man. If you want to do it, it can be done. But he was running a full praise and worship. I think he had another guy playing the drums. And then when he was playing keyboard, and that was it. That's all they had, And then you go to other churches, they got the works. It depends. And some churches you go and they still want to include a hymn or two. Hymns have kind of been dead, by the way. Hymns aren't as big as they used to be.
I'm not gonna say that they're dead, but I think that they had a purpose for a specific time, and that's not necessarily the most accurate to the time that we are in now.
I think the music has just evolved on a broader scale of looking at things, like secular church, whatever you want to call it. Like music has evolved, and I think hymns are just like I don't like it. Like we're not listening to music from the 1920s like how they did in the 1920s. I think that's the same for hymns. It's just like I don't think people are not appreciating I love hymns, by the way, just to put that out there. Like I like when I really want to feel like it's a Sabbath, I put on instrumental hymns.
There's definitely a resonance that hymns have that that music nowadays doesn't necessarily carry at the same point. I'll agree with you there. And I think that there's definitely a place for them. There's definitely a place for them somewhere. I'm not sure where exactly that would be, but there's definitely a place for them. There's definitely a place for them somewhere. But we asked the question earlier in the episode, like, does music carry morality? And
it's a good question.
I'm leaning towards the answer of no. It doesn't carry morality. I mean, it can carry music can, I think, carry feelings, and it can carry thoughts, it can carry memories, it can carry those things, but I don't think that it's necessarily that there's like good and bad music.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that our church is kind of slowly coming to that same type of realization where it's like, yo, if you want to bring in a jazz instrumental to this church, like, okay, like if it speaks to you, go for it. And I'm kind of here for that, truthfully.
Yeah, man. I love to see music evolve, man. It's one of my favorite things to watch. Like people are like, music ain't the same as it used to be, man. It ain't what like it used to be back in the day.
I've
never been that guy. Of course, and I think it's a good thing. I always find the good in evolution.
Neither are cars or food or like any of that.
I always find the positive in evolution. You can decide to find the negative, but I always like promise myself to look until I find the positive, because there is positive. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes it's harder to find, but there's always positive. Like even for secular music, whatever you want to talk about, there's always a new version that has positive implications on society and lifestyle and culture. And I think we need to start focusing on what the music has evolved in a positive way,
where it's going rather than where it's been.
Yeah, and I mean, and that doesn't mean abolishing hymns or nothing like that. Like I've seen. As a Jamaican, I've seen Jamaicans take hymns and spice them up and put drums on the back.
I believe that.
Yeah, and put a Caribbean beat. Yeah, you think Bob Marley gonna come in or something, and then no, it's just Brother Brown. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like I've seen people spice up hymns and songs that they care dearly, and they care for the evolution process. You know, well, I mean, they want to honor what they know in the past, and I think that's the beauty of a lot of music. To be honest with you, because we all know sampling is a thing.
Oh yeah, like, remixes, samples. People be doing that to all kinds of like.
I mean, look at Kirk Franklin
every day.
Yeah. Kirk Franklin, like his first whole album, the Stomp thing and all that, like those are all remixes. Those are all like old songs. Yeah, like bro. Stomp with like a go-go remix for like a DC song, like bro, like. Kirk Franklin and I say this all the time.
He broke a lot of molds.
He broke a lot of molds, man. He broke a lot of molds. The no drums thing cannot be talked about without talking about Kirk Franklin, man. Kirk Franklin is that guy.
As a kid, dancing to the church too, bro.
As a kid, man, Kirk Franklin opened a lot of doors for me to realize that it can sound good and it doesn't have to be bad. I said there was a couple people in my early life, like 10, 11, 12, 13, where I didn't know if I did something, if it would be good or bad. And like Kirk Franklin, as I said, even DMX, believe it or not, there's a lot of guys, because DMX used to do prayers in his albums. So he used to go out and do prayers. Dear Lord, thank you Jesus, thank you God, and he'd do the whole prayer.
Yeah,
and I'd be like, oh, this guy's he's a church dude. He like me.
He doing church. Me.
He stopped this whole song about dogs and where the hood at to stop and do a prayer. Like, okay, so there's a piece of him that's just like me. And I remember thinking that, and then with Kirk Franklin, the same thing. Like he liked the secular music, but he wanted it to be uplifting and about God, and he was able to blend the two. And I remember the first time when Stomp came out and they had that rap verse on it, and everybody was like,
"Oh, that's it. No, can't play it in the church because that rap music is devil music."
So, that's why I love my mom. My mom was like, "Hey, this bumps." We played in the car, everything, man. My mom was not against it. It's still one of my favorite albums, top 10 best albums of all time, in my opinion.
Well, I mean,
is the first Kirk Franklin album with Stomp on it. And,
gangsters believe in God, bro. Like
Kirk Franklin in the family.
Come on now, when you see death that close, how can you not believe in God, bro?
Yeah, man. Yeah, bro.
So that's so I'm with that, man, and I hope it continues to evolve, because it's gonna be harder for them to catch the younger audience without being authentic.
As I said, it's the most powerful tool we have. If you ask me, hands down, most powerful tool we have. Because you don't need to understand language. You don't need to perceive anything. It transcends
language. That's true.
It transcends language. Music transcends language.
Cultures, locations.
You can put a bunch of people in a room and play a song, and everybody will jump. There's nothing else on the planet that unites people like that. Music and food. It's just cultural. It's spiritual, on a spiritual level. So, yeah, man, that's it.
I'm with that, bro.
That's what I got to say on that.
I'm with that. Well, we've been going for a little while, so we might as well wrap this up, man. Like, where can they find you?
Oh, at mb.j on Instagram. That's pretty much it. Been doing a lot of traveling lately. You're gonna see a lot of interesting things on there.
I'm excited, bro.
But
you definitely be moving.
Yeah, I'll be out of here.
So let's see. Where can you find me? At Legend of Andrew on Instagram. That's the best place, honestly. I've been trying to do a little bit more on Threads. I got a X Twitter feed too, but I don't generally be on that, man.
I don't even know what to call it X Twitter anymore, man.
X Twitter, that's what I be calling it. Weird, though. That's what I be calling it, because it used to be Twitter. It's X Twitter now.
Like I got a like, it's weird. It just sounds dumb. Like I got an X. Yo, follow me on X.
Follow me. X Twitter. Let's start getting that going.